Yep. I saw an Adam Sandler movie. The laser is 'cause I like sci-fi. The dude is 'cause I am a rad guy. 99 is 'cause I like Wayne Gretzky. That's why I'm Lazy Dude 99. Lazy time and we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review and talk about movies and comics too. Let's all go on to Hello everybody, I'm Lazy Dude 99. Welcome to another Lazy Dude 99 video. So, Blended, starring Adam Sandler, and why did I see it? Because it has Adam Sandler in it, and I'm not a big fan of Adam Sandler. I'll get to that in a sec. Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. Okay, so let's just say why I saw this movie. I have a friend of mine who is a classmate of mine in broadcasting college, and on his radio show, he and I are doing, well, I'm doing the reviews, I'm just doing it on his radio show. I'm reviewing movies for him. We just started doing this, and the first one that we did was X-Men Days of Future Past, and now his theater, only having playing one movie, because it's a smaller town, is also playing Blended this week, and so that was the movie that I had to review. So I figured, you know what, if I'm going to see this movie in theaters, I'm going to review it and just say what I think about it, because how many times am I actually going to see an Adam Sandler movie? Well, if I want to be a movie critic for my career, quite a bit. But anyways, let's get down to the point. Blended is about how these two people, one played by Adam Sandler, one played by Drew Barrymore, go on this horrible blind date, like the worst blind date in the world. He takes her to Hooters, she spits on him, it's a whole thing. It's the worst blind date ever, and through some random circumstances, they find their way that they actually are going on a vacation to Africa together, and they have to find a way to get along. Adam Sandler's character has 3 daughters, Drew Barrymore's character has 2 sons. And of course, we got the typical romantic comedy where we have, oh, they don't like each other, they don't like each other, they kind of like each other, no, they don't like each other, oh, they love each other! Huh, what's that? Huh. Somebody beating over a dead horse. Yeah, this type of story has been done to death. We've seen it a million times. If you've seen a romantic comedy, you've seen this type of story. It was so hard to find either one of these characters likable at the beginning, especially that first date. I know they're trying to show that it was the worst first date ever, but it was very hard to like Adam Sandler's character because he's like looking at the TV, and it's not even like a real game. It's like a guy chopping wood. And he's like, oh yeah, it's a very tight game. What? And just this comments that they say to each other are so spiteful and so like horrible that you're just like these are two awful people. Why do I want to see them in a movie together? That is the movie's biggest problem. It has a really hard time justifying its reason to exist to the audience. The basic story, that is all the story. 2 people go on a blind date together, they don't like each other, then they find themselves going on the same vacation together, and they have to find a way to get along. That's it. That's the whole story. There's nothing else to it. There's nothing else at all. However, I must say that I didn't hate this film like I thought I was going to. I know, hear me out. Adam Sandler's movie style recently has been basically make everything up as you go along and try to put as many disgusting, offensive style of humor in there as much as possible just to make your film stand out, which has led his movies to be somewhere usually between super offensive and one of the worst movies of all time, in that range. Here, there was only actually a couple times where I found that he dived into his sick brand of humor in this movie. Like, there's one scene that just has 2 rhinos humping each other for absolutely no reason. But that's really one of the few times where I actually can point out the movie being overly crude and disgusting for no reason. It has some horrible characters, like a character whose only job, I kid you not, is to shake her breasts at the camera. However, there are some touching moments, actually, with the way these 2 families kind of have to blend together. When it comes to the kid actors, I actually like the girl kid actors. Like, there's a young one, the middle one, and an older one. right? And they're all Adam Sandler's children in this movie. The young one, her only job is to say something cute, and by usually saying something cute, it usually involves something with the devil. But to be fair, when there's actually scenes where the kid needs to act, the kid can act, so it's not like she's awfully annoying. The middle child, her only character trait is that she's crazy and she sees her dead mother. It happens. But to be fair, they treat it with some seriousness in realizing that some kids just can't find it so easy to let go of dead parents. And they don't poke fun of it or use it to make embarrassing scenarios where people think, whoa, she's crazy, as much as I thought they were going to. The people are actually really understanding towards her situation and just go along with it, knowing she just needs to get through this. Although some of the scenes make her look like, yes, she needs some therapy. Then you got the older girl who... I actually like the actress because she does a pretty good job with this role. There's just a running gag that drives me up the wall of people saying, hey man, hey dude, thinking that she's a guy. And they repeat this joke over and over again. And it drives me nuts. And her character arc ends is when Drew Barrymore basically gives her a makeover, making her look more like a girl. But there was no way people would be mistaking her for a boy in the first place. I mean, it was pretty easy to tell she was a girl. Get over yourself. That's the problem with these kids. They all have one job, one thing about them. Young one, cute. Second one, has emotional troubles. Third one, people think she's a boy. That's it. That's the only depth they are given. And I'm thinking, these kids actually can act, and I'm sad that they're not given any depth because they're in an Adam Sandler movie. On the other hand, the boy kids, oh my gosh, I hated them. And I'm not just saying, because the boys are the boys and the girls are good at... I'm just saying, the boy kids couldn't act. The girl kids, they actually could act. The boys, no. Not really. They were just annoying and outright... they acted so dumb. Speaking of acting, for our main two actors, I didn't hate Adam Sandler in this movie, because there actually was a couple of times he said something and I laughed. But when the emotional scenes are happening, where he's talking about his dead wife, I buy the kids when they're talking about it. I don't really buy him as much. It's not horrible as in he doesn't care all the way, but I would like to see some more emotion in scenes like that from him, where he just seems to be talking quiet. Doing the bare minimum to get a semi-emotional response, but that's just a nitpick from me. Drew Barrymore's character, I should like her more because her character is, does more things, but a lot of times she comes across as a little whiny. And there's one thing that just drove me up the wall. There's a scene where she's carrying one of her boys to bed. She bumps his head. Now, if any parent were carrying their kid up the stairs or up something and they bump their head, any good parent would immediately put them down, look to make sure there was any damage, and to see if their kid's okay. She doesn't do that. But it was just one scene. I'm okay with it. It's just one scene. Just deal with it. Whatever. And then later in the movie, she does it like 5 times in a row. Boom, 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 boom. And she just goes like, ooh, I hope nobody saw that. And boom, and again, ooh, oh, that's too bad. But she keeps on smacking his head on stuff, and we're supposed to be laughing. But I'm like, no! Any good parent would be checking to see if their kid was okay. And she's just acting like she's taking up a box. And keeps on bumping things like, oh, I hope nothing's broken inside here. No! That doesn't work. That's a joke that is at the expense of the characters, and that's where Adam Sandler's style, I don't know who wrote this film, if he did or whatnot, but that's where his style of humor doesn't work, because he's just doing stuff to get a response from the audience, not realizing that some of the stuff that the audience is responding to is to the detriment of the characters, rather than helping us to like them more. But as I said, I don't really hate this movie because there's not a whole lot of things to hate on this movie. Its biggest problem is that it's a forgetful, typical 90s comedy. As I said, if you've seen any comedy, you've seen this movie. If you've seen The Wedding Singer, you've seen this movie. If you've seen any comedy, romantic comedy at all, you've already seen this movie and you know exactly how it's going to happen. There's a scene near the end of the film where they're in this romantic date. He says, I want a do-over. Sorry, Adam Sandler, I want a do-over. That was pretty bad. But anyway, he's doing over the date because he took her to Hooters. Speaking of Hooters, this movie has some of the most blatant product placement ever. And about what? Of course, about Hooters. The movie opens in Hooters. That's a big plot point. Then later on in the film, you find out that his dead wife worked at Hooters. And so she feels, and so now Drew Barrymore feels bad that she judged him for taking to Hooters because that's one of the only places he knows. And then later on in the film, at the end of the film, when he's doing over his do-over date, he has the monkeys all dressed up in Hooters outfits. This film has more Hooters in the film than actual breasts. This is the type of product placement that annoys me. I mean, stuff people say Man of Steel has all this product placement. That doesn't annoy me because it's small, though. It's a small town. It's bound to have a store like Denny's or a Sears in it. That doesn't bother me because they're fighting through a small town that has small businesses in it. So what? The guy throws a U-Haul van at a jet. So what? Can't there be a U-Haul van in this town? Is that so unbelievable? Product placement that drives me up the wall is when they actually make it a plot point of the story. And I kid you not, a lot of the story revolves around Hooters. Okay, I'm not even going to talk about this anymore because I'm giving them too much product placement by talking about them. Unbelievable. But as I say, this movie does have actually a couple of funny scenes, a couple of quick lines that catch you off guard and you kind of laugh at. Some of them to the detriment of the character, like some of Adam Sandler's quick one-liners make you dislike him because he's like, okay, you're saying something that a jerk would say, not something that a regular person would say. But some of them work. Some of them actually are kind of funny. And then you have some scenes that are actually kind of funny, and then they're ruined later. One of the funniest jokes in the movie, no, the funniest, the only memorable one for me, is a scene where the older girl walks in and every character that is looking at her, they're all stunned because now she looks, attractive. But she looked attractive before, doofuses. You don't need makeup and dresses to make you look attractive, young women. Anyway, I'm getting off my soapbox. So all of them are looking at the girl, the young boy that she has a crush on. The music's like, I'm in love with you, and it goes to somebody else who has a different style of music playing. Then it goes to Adam Sandler, and his music is "It's the End of the World as We Know It." It was actually quite funny. It caught me off guard. I actually laughed pretty hard at that. Until 5 to 10 minutes later, they do the exact same joke with Drew Barrymore's character. Only one slight difference, they add another song in the mix. But it's the exact same joke. Guys, you had me actually laughing at a memorable joke in your film, and then you ruin it by doing the exact same thing again with very little variation on it. It's not even like it's a running joke or anything. It's the exact same thing. Exact same songs, exact same looks. It was, that drove me up the wall. But as I say, the biggest problem with this movie is it's just forgetful. That joke that I was just talking about is the only joke that I really remember. When I walked out of this film, I thought, that's just an average film. Probably a 5 out of 10, because, nothing really blatantly horrible with it. Nothing really great about it. It's just a typical movie. Probably a 5 out of 10. But the more I thought about it is, there's nothing memorable about it. Nothing. Every scene, if you laugh at it or don't, you don't remember it. When you're done watching it, you're like, what was it? I actually tried to think other jokes of the movie, and the only thing I really remember about the movie is that one joke that they ruined later, and the stuff that bothered me. So it's the type of movie that after you think about it, you're just like, nah, it wasn't really good. It wasn't even average because I don't really remember anything about it except for the bad stuff. And when the bad stuff in a movie is more memorable than the good stuff, then you have a problem. So in the end, I won't say that I hated Blended. I actually thought it was surprisingly just mediocre. Surprisingly mediocre. Never thought I'd say that. But in the end, I would say the film's pretty forgetful, so I have to end up giving it a 4 out of 10. It's just a below average film. You know, it's not really up to the qualities of stuff of nowadays. This feels like the film came out 20 years ago. And not in, like, the good way. I just think that for movies, for comedies especially, if comedies want to continue to make grand steps in the realm of laughter, they got to adjust. They have to adjust with the way the world is, and they got to realize what storylines are tired and just outright done. We're done with that. I am done with the story of a guy and a girl that don't like each other finding that they actually love each other. I'm done with that story. I've seen it to death. I'm done with it. I don't need to see it anymore. In the end, it's not a horrible movie, but I don't ever really want to see it again. Yeah, if I want to watch some funny romantic comedy with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore, I'll watch 50 First Dates. Yeah, that was funny. It has some unique qualities to it. A lot of heart. Might be some scenes that are cliched about it, but at least it stands out. This movie? I forget that I already saw it. Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.